Hello and welcome to The House in Fata Morgana, a mystery horror visual novel developed by Novectacle. Is that how you say? Novectacle is right here, developer. It's available on Steam, and well, it looks interesting. A lot of people who have ever played this game only have good things to say about it, it seems, at least the majority. So I wanted to check it out, it has good art, apparently the music is good, and yeah, I want to see if I like it too. Apparently, there's a special version, I think, on the PlayStation 4 and PS Vita. Remember the PS Vita? That has like extra content and everything, but that's fine. I think I'll just play the original PC port. I mean, for one, it's more convenient. It's right here in my computer. And then also, I don't even know if I even like the original content in the first place, right? Like why? I don't know why would I want extra content when I'm not even like, I never played the game before. I feel like more isn't always better, right? It will just. I feel like, well, I don't know for sure, but I feel like if you're gonna add like extra stuff to a story, it might, you know, add like extra fluff and kind of mess with the pacing. But I don't know for sure. Let's check it out though. Let's see if this game is any good, or at least a story. Is a visual novel a game? A little bit like a game. There are some choices, I think. It's not purely kinetic. But let's see. Oh yeah. Oh, and before everything starts, I have to say the disclaimer, content warning. There is gonna be blood, gore, and graphic violence, and everything, and offensive language, and all that. Basically, it runs the whole gamut. Bad things happen to a bunch of people, is what I've heard about this game. But yeah, beware of that. Anyway, there is a house. Okay, it's a little intro. There's a house that sits beyond dark, dense woods. The game also recommends to put on headphones, by the way. Like the world fading into view after a dream. That old mansion appears before you. Without realizing it. It's pretty slow intro, to be honest. I like the music though. You instinctively accept as truth the events unfolding before you. The house lives in perpetuity, an amalgam of myriad fates and generations, or myriad fates. No one knows who first said. Come on, go. I'm reading too fast, I feel like. That the mansion was cursed. Oh no. I'm going to a cursed mansion. The music, this song, by the way, I'm not sure what language it is, but it's such a Nier Automata song, like a Nier song from the Yoko Taro games. I like it. Alright, so it's just a little opening credits, I guess. Who made the music for Nier and Nier Automata? I think it was Okabe, right? Okabe Keiichi? I could be wrong. I might have just pulled that out of thin air. Maybe that person doesn't exist. But I think that's the person that made it, right? Or that could be someone else, though. I'm not sure. Basically, the person that made the music for the Nier games. That's what this song reminds me of. So far, anyway. But the house in Fata Morgana. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Morgana or Morgana? Morgana? Our Father, the capital F, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Have mercy on me, O Father. Okay. And cast their souls into eternal damnation. Alright. Getting a little religious, I feel like, already. And, you know, we're already looking down on a corpse. I was looking down upon a corpse. I didn't mean to... What happened? What? Oh, okay, there's a menu here. I didn't even know there's a menu. I accidentally clicked on it. I was gonna click on this thing, right? But then... Okay. I don't accidentally skip anything, though. What's it say? The word is weird. I guess because it's Japanese, originally, obviously. I imagine. I think it is, right? It's originally Japanese. At least, I just assume every visual novel is originally Japanese. Anyway, save the game. Save the title, I guess. But, you know, Japanese is often, like, vertical. Or at least, you know, it doesn't have to be vertical, but... Traditional Japanese writing is, like, from top to bottom. So it's kind of hard to read it like this. Read English like this, though. Say, this says... Oh, it says config. And this says... backlog. Okay, it's hard for me to read. Save, load, skip, auto, window. Okay, I think I click on this. Okay. What's this? This is just this little torch thing. It's just for show. Anyway, looking at a corpse. My own corpse. Already? We're already dead? Game over, I guess. Bad end. I was afflicted with great despair at the sight of it being dragged to the place of my crucifixion or crucifix. I can't say the word. Crucifixion. Crucifixion? My soul crumbled, and I was wholly extinguished. Indeed, I did once lose everything. However, as I faded into darkness everlasting, I heard a voice calling out to me. And so, I vowed once more that no matter how long it may take, how great the obstacles that stand in my way, or what form you may assume, I shall come back for you. That I must return to that house. So I ask of you, please wait until this mutilated body arrives there once more. Alright. Well, your consciousness, wavering like a ship at sea, was slowly drawn back to the surface. With each new breath, feeling gradually return to your fingers. They keep saying you and your with a capital Y. Master. You could hear the pattering of rain from somewhere. Also, I'm going to use, instead of the mouse, I'm going to use the keyboard. Press enter to advance the text instead. Master. And the sound of a crackling fire. Wake up, master. Okay, so I assume we're the master. Somebody's calling us. Creak, creak, creak. Okay, well, so when they have sound effects, I'm just gonna say it. I can't make the sound effects now. Wake up. Oh, there you go. Oh, there's some sound effects. That's funny. If they're just gonna write the sound effects. It's a visual novel, but you know you can add sound effects. Yeah. When you came to, you were rocking back and forth in a rocking chair. The room was dimly lit. Aside from the flickering of the fireplace, there was no other illumination. No light shone through the closed windows. There was only the pitter-patter of rain on the glass. It was as though the whole mansion had been enveloped in darkness. Oh, splendid. You have finally awoken. Someone called out to you. You were about to search the room, but that turned out to be unnecessary. The source of the voice was crouching beside the chair, looking up at you with emerald eyes. Okay, it's a maid. Good morning, master. It's a dialogue choice. Time to save. Can I save? Oh, I don't have to press. Okay, for some reason, I'm so used to visual novels when I press escape because it opens the pause menu, but actually you can just hover over here and then yeah. So you do, and these are all on pages. There's gonna be a lot of save. This is auto save. All right, this is what I do. You play any visual novel with choices, you have to save on every choice ever. Anyway, apparently our maid is telling us, you know, ohayo gozaimasu. Let's say it back. Good morning. What is the matter? Are you still waking up? You seem rather drowsy. Come now, you must gather yourself. Though I am glad to hear your voice. I've simply been waiting so long for this moment. tending to the mansion all by my lonesome, ensuring it was ready for your return, whenever that time may be. Well, this person, I think she's on the cover of the game, so it makes me wonder what kind of, how she's related to all this. But anyway, when I caught sight of you through the window, my heart fluttered. The time had finally arrived. You were perplexed. This woman, who looked like a maid, seemed to know you, but you had no memory of her. What kind of herbal tea would you like to start your day with? I have some wonderful chamomile. I can't say words. Chamomile. Is it chamomile or chamomile? Can't tell. Anyway, I have some wonderful tea leaves if you would like. Or perhaps your tastes have changed since last we met. Tell me, master, what would you like? I beg your pardon. I allowed myself to get too excited. But I hope you be sympathetic, master. I am just utterly elated that I could see you again. The woman appeared to be genuinely delighted that you had awoken, but she seemed to lack the energy typical of her age. Or perhaps life was a more appropriate word than energy. But the gloom extended beyond the maid. It seemed to encompass the entire mansion. The plaster walls, illuminated by the fireplace, and the rose engravings in the ebony pillars felt vaguely familiar. But a crushing sense of claustrophobia overpowered that familiarity. It seemed as though the house wasn't interested in accepting you just yet. Oh my, you do not know who I am? Do you not know who you are either? That is quite the predicament. If you cannot remember who you are, then who am I to serve? The woman's face was pale, almost as though she... A faint chill ran down your spine. You are the master of this house, though it would seem you have no memories of such. Quite the dilemma. If you know not who you are, then you are no different than a stranger to me now. Indeed, you have returned, but from where? That I cannot say. And how about this? I am a servant of this mansion, and as such, I am familiar with the many incidents that have taken place here. I shall show you the history of this house, master. That will surely allow you to recall who you are. The freshly awakened gears in your head began to turn as you mulled things over. The maid had called you the master of this house, but without a single mirror in the room, you had no way of seeing what you looked like. Unable to decide, you reflexively nodded. Let us be off then. And fear not, I merely entreat you not to let go of my hand. How lewd. Hand holding? I didn't know this was a mature game. Should you hold it tightly, you need not worry about being washed away by the waves of history. No matter what happens, you mustn't let go of my hand. Well, I say mature game. I mean, it is a mature game, actually. I mean, as far as I know, there's no, like, erotic content or erotica, necessarily, as far as I know. But there is gonna be, like, horrible things. But anyway, your hand in hers, you follow the maid's lead through the hall. The air within the mansion was oppressive, as though a black miasma hovered within. The house was bleak and barren, hardly a trace of color to be found. You came across an open window. Beyond it lay nothing but darkness. Neither sunlight nor moonlight could be seen. There were no chirping birds, no rustling grass, no signs of life at all. Everything that would normally give color to the world had vanished entirely. The only other presence was that of the maid. Following her lead, you proceeded through the mansion. I was gonna say, actually, this game has no voice acting. I don't know if I forgot to mention that, but this game does not have I can't speak. It doesn't have any voice acting, so I'm probably have to do a lot of reading. But that's fine. I actually like it that way. It's gonna cause my throat to be very dry, though, as I need to drink some water here occasionally. But I like doing voices a little bit. Anyway, after some time, you arrive at the double door. The glass within shattered. The door, once pure white, had long since faded into a dull gray. It appeared to lead to the back garden. You could hear children laughing on the other side. Though it is in the state you now see it, a beautiful, beautiful garden once lay beyond these doors. The owner of the time enjoyed gathering rare species of rose from all across the world. At its grandest, it seemed every flower was in constant competition for the most majestic bloom. Would you like to see this wonderful era of splendor and prosperity? I very much hope it's to your liking, master. She's very suspicious. Why is she so suspicious? I just assume she's evil. I don't know. The maid opened the doors to the back garden. A sudden gust of wind brushed across your face, forcing you to close your eyes as you followed the maid out the doors. When you next opened your eyes, the world was no longer blanketed in shadows. Instead, it's a chapter title. The First Door. 1603, eh? Actually, that's hard to imagine, to be honest. I'm so bad at. Oh, I move the cursor to the bottom right corner of the screen, display the in-game menu, you save, and yeah, okay. I figured that out on my own. I was gonna say though, it's hard for me to imagine, like older, like I don't know how you say it. Like it's hard for me to imagine, any like a setting that's like centuries old or something. You know, I don't know why, but it's just very hard for me to imagine that sort of thing. I'm not very good with history, I guess. So like 1603 is trying to imagine like what would that be like. I'm not entirely sure. But I guess, well, we'll learn, I guess. Oh, hello, Orange. She's cute to you, so she can't be evil, right? You talk about the maid? Well, who knows? We don't know. The mansion had an alluring air of beauty about it in that era. It was almost like something out of fairy tale. This period of history could perhaps be described as a symphony of destruction, as cumbersome principles of old came crashing down. Freed from the day-to-day oppression of these antiqued precepts, the people seemed to hark back to the more poetic, expressive ways of old. They took these newly blossoming emotions in hand, and with them they wrote literature, painted portraits, composed theater, and found love. Even the church, which had maintained authority throughout the Middle Ages, embraced the changing times, adopting the culture's flowery sense of aesthetic. War would break out not 20 years from then, plucking the ripened era from the tree of history, but that is no concern to us now. 20 years from 16-something. Let's say we're in the 1600s. I guess that's really hard for me to like just think back, you know, to like how people would be like in 1600s and everything, the environment, you know, what the culture is like. That's really hard for me to imagine in my head anyway. I'm not very good at that. Anyway, at the time it was still what people referred to as the Golden Age, a period of furor for all who were there. Okay, so the Golden Age. Is it where it was Leonardo da Vinci? Was he alive back then? I don't remember. I don't know. All my history knowledge is literally from Fate Go. That's all. That's all I got. Anyway, now let's take a slight detour. This is Super Near Automata. I was right. At least the music. Yeah, that's what I said. Like, it feels, the music at least feels a lot like Near Automata. Now I wonder if they're actually singing in a particular language. I can't tell. Because in Near Automata, the gimmick, or at least in Near Automata as well, you know, both of those games, they had a thing where people sang in chaos language. You know, it was basically just kind of like gibberish, but it's like a made up fake language. But then it sounded good, right? It sounded kind of good because it's kind of like a mixture of like the most coolest sounding parts of a lot of different languages, like an amalgamation. Now, I don't know this song, however, I can't tell, to be honest. I don't know. La la la. Anyway, no, we will not be changing locations. This is a tale about the mansion from beginning to end. Okay, well, they said, we're taking a detour, but we're not changing locations, however. We will, however, be moving through time, okay? Say, about 8 years into the past. A very wealthy family lived in the house then. The mother and father, brother and sister all had distinctive, beautiful flaxen hair. I was always enamored by their hair. By contrast, mine is the color of a wet crow. So black, I guess. I mean, that's just normal, isn't it? See, there I am, standing around looking rather a fool. I was happy back then. And what reason did I have not to be afforded the opportunity to attend to such a beautiful home? So I poured my heart into serving their family. Listen closely if you would. That soft, fleeting sound that could only be a young girl singing. Can you hear it? Okay. It's a little girl going la 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 la. The girl you see, cheerfully picking crimson roses and singing like a songbird, was called Nelly. Though young, she sang with elegance. Nelly was deeply fond of the house's garden, and she would often spend her afternoons there. Gorgeous roses gathered from all across the world bloom in the garden. They were given the utmost care and even had their thorns removed. So young Nelly would not hurt herself, naturally. The light brown-haired girl carefully plucked petals from the roses, gathering them as she sang. Her voice was like music played by fairies. Nay, the sight of her was like an angel descended from heaven. Okay, well now I wonder, because this guy, apparently, again, I heard that this game is all about horrible things happening to people. Now they're introducing like an innocent little girl. I don't know what's gonna happen to this girl. I don't think it's gonna be good things. I don't know, man. Oh dear, please don't look at me like that. I admit I was rather fanciful. But what is a woman if not fanciful? Okay, I wonder who the narrator is. Is it the maid, I wonder? Anyway. I guess Nelly is singing, like little bird, singing night and day. For your little birdie heart, sing your woes away. Pretty flowers all around the little birds. Even when the sun comes up, Oh, dearest Mel, I forgot what comes next. Are you listening? Okay. Nelly was, as a matter of fact, not the only visitor to the rose garden that day. She always came with her older brother, Mel. The young siblings were inseparable. Mel adored his little sister, who in turn pined for his attention. The sight of the two innocent children cuddling together, not yet shackled by fear for the future, was truly heartwarming. That day, Mel was sitting in the shade of a tree reading a book. As I am sure you are aware, in their time, books could not yet be mass-produced. Well, I actually didn't know that. I don't know, when was the printing press invented, actually? I have no idea, to be honest. But I guess it's nice that they give you context for that, so apparently, that book is very expensive. It's like the equivalent of a computer, I guess, for rich people only. What he was reading had been copied by a scribe. I guess not really a computer, more like the latest smartphone. That's what it's like. That's what it's like. Anyway, what he was reading was copied by a scribe. I presume he had borrowed it from the church. The book, having passed through many hands over many years, was visibly worn, but I suppose that just speaks to its importance. It was in fact a Latin grammar textbook he was reading. Mel was a clever boy. He had attended church from a very young age, where a priest would instruct him in Latin grammar. A priest, you say? Yorokobe. Shonen. So at that time, I believe he was capable of reading even advanced texts. Oh, dearest Mel, please. The young girl approached her brother, who was consumed by the text. What a nerd. In her hands, she carried a large pile of rose petals. Though his sister's shadow overlapped the trees, the boy still did not notice. So Nelly puffed her cheeks like an anime girl, thrust out her slender arms, and let the petals fall. Get pranked. Look, your head is covered in roses, Mel. Oh, Nelly, you got petals on the book. This isn't mine. I can't afford to let it get dirty. It's your fault, dearest Mel. I tried to get your attention. And besides, flowers won't get a book dirty. I must raise the white flag. When did my little lady find herself such a sharp wit? While waiting for you, dearest Mel. I waited and waited, you didn't so much as glance at me. I'll be an adult by the time you're done reading that book. Wow, that soon? That soon. Mother says girls grow up fast. She may be right. In that case, we should do something together before you're grown up. Surely you won't play with me any longer when you become an adult. Oh, that's not true. I'll still play with you even when I'm grown up. But grown-ups don't play, Nelly. Fine, I'll stay a child forever then. Didn't you just say you're about to grow up? You're so mean, Mel. I'm sorry. Please don't pout, my little lady. How about this? To make it up to you, I'll play whatever you want today. Really? Do you mean it? I want to play make-believe. Make-believe? Make-believe. I will be a princess taken captive by an evil kingdom, and you, dearest Mel, will be my valiant knight. And then you will turn into a prince when you rescue me. A knight can become a prince? Impressive. They can. Knights and princes have both had to be charming, so of course they can. Is that how it works? Maybe. Which is why it must be you, dearest Mel. No one else can be my prince or my knight. While he may have appeared outwardly embarrassed, his rose-cheeked sister proclaimed pratingly, I am certain he was smiling on the inside. After a few moments, he meekly knelt, bringing himself to eye level with Nelly and gently stroking her soft hair. Alright then, you're my princess, Nelly. And not just anyone's princess, dearest Mel, but yours only. So, don't be anyone else's prince but mine, okay? Nelly. Jeez, my princess is quite the fawner. Is that bad? Does that make you dislike me? Not at all. I'm proud to have you as my sister, Nelly. You mean more to me than anything in the world, my dear princess. I love you, dearest Mel. Yeah, Orange, this is super cute. I'm worried now, yep. I'm worried, you know, this is too wholesome. I've only heard non-wholesome things about this game. I don't know what exactly happens, but... You'll always be my prince forever and ever. Haha, hee hee, we're so happy together. Hugs. Happy. Anyway, her mood quite improved. Nelly began humming the melody of the song she had forgotten the lyrics to. Holding the skirt of her dress out from her body, the young girl pranced about the rose garden. Mel, his eyes on her back, gave a little shrug. Oh, Nelly, don't come crying to me if you trip running like that. The Mel was not entirely disapproving of his sister's excitement. He carefully brushed aside the petals on his book, set it in the shade of the tree, and began chasing after Nelly. They were picturesque siblings, brimming with hope. And at this time of their lives, there was nothing to jeopardize that hope. Would it not be wonderful if children could stay children forever, Master? As I see it, though, the pleasant, gentle times in our lives have value because they come to an end. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so the narrator said Master, so I assume the narrator is actually the maid that was speaking to us before as the, first person. The first person that doesn't remember their name or whatever. Well, time continues to flow, impartial without exception. And as such, everyone's childhood comes to an end. Be that as it may, does time also flow at the same speed for each individual? Stop laughing. You're like a Dark Souls NPC. You're just ominous laughing at every moment. Now, let's take a trip down the river of time. I would be very much delighted if you could remain at this point in time, but unfortunately, we cannot. Please, do not let go of my hand, Master. Alright. So I guess the maid was kind of narrating this whole part to us, the master of the house, I assume. You? Yeah, we're here now, okay. Alright, they already grew up. They grow up so fast. Well, I'll be on my way then. Oh, you usually stay for longer. Yes, I have an errand to run today. Thank you for your time as always. Would you like the book sometime next week? Next week or the week after. Hold on to it as long as you like. But surely there are others who want to use it. None as sharp as you, Mel. Put yourself in my shoes and you'll understand. I want to give you any advantage you can get, you see. Because the aristocrat always get access to the best of knowledge, and as the peasants, the peasants don't learn anything. They don't get education. public education hasn't been invented yet. There's no schools or anything. If there was any education that you would get, it would be at a church, actually. Unless you were rich and had like a private instructor, as far as I know. Anyway. Oh, do you not believe me? No, I believe you, Father. And I mean to do whatever I can not to disappoint you. That's the spirit. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I'm proud to have you as my pupil. Yes, and now do consider what we're talking about. Going to university. Indeed. If you do, I can introduce you to some accomplished instructors. University? Well, I guess I guess universities have, they've existed, for a long time, actually. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. What would universities look like in the 1600s, actually? I don't know. Maybe I said how, like, public education wasn't a thing yet. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. Because, well, maybe universities are like more like private institutions, right? I mean, it still is, actually. I mean, a lot of universities are. I don't know. Anyway. There's very little left for me to teach you, and I believe you'll make a fine priest. Oh, okay. Well, actually, Mel was actually learning to be a priest, too. Interesting. Or maybe not, or maybe, I don't know. He looks conflicted, actually. I don't know if he wants to be a priest. It's an honorable thing, Mel, to devote yourself to the service of our Lord. I'll give it some thought. If you excuse me, then. I'll see you again. Our doors are always open. Farewell. Whether it's in the service of God or the service of the church, it is an honorable profession. But theology... I wouldn't mind attending university, but I'm not sure. I kind of like to do something different. Something more befitting of the times. I guess you're, just like me. Undecided major, not sure what you want to do, even though everyone expects you to go to university. Is what happened to me. And all I got was a student loan that I had to pay off. As for what, though, I'm stumped. But I need to make up my mind soon. If I drag my feet for too long, even my father is liable to grow up impatient. Mercy me. Young sire, bless young sire, alms for the poor. This beggar. If I'm not mistaken, he's been outside the church since last week. Alms. The way he shakes his head, I can get a glimpse of his forehead under his hood. He's completely bald. Buy yourself some bread with this. Thank you very much. May the Lord bless your soul. Thanks. The Lord. Oh no. Nelly's gonna be cross if I don't hurry home. Curses, and it looks like it's going to rain. Master? Oh, thank goodness. You appear to have a firm grasp on your consciousness. Okay, so it's kind of weird to say this meta narrative. I guess we're following these characters, but also we're a character. I don't know, it's weird. Do I have pretty hair too? No, I don't think I don't look as B shonen, I guess. Well, not really B shonen. I don't know. This art style is actually quite unique. I was gonna say like B shonen, typical B shonen character, but not really, because it's not really the type of anime that is always used, or the type of anime art style used in a lot of modern animes. Actually, the art style is quite unique. I can't really pinpoint what it is. Not really anime, but not really like Western art either. I guess it's kind of like a mix, which is cool actually. Anyway, I was afraid you had accidentally let go of my hand. Now, master, this is the period of time I truly wish to show you. The boy reading in the rose garden was now a fine young man. Nonetheless, he still bore the same gentle eyes as before, and would from time to time show remnants of that innocent young boy. He was in his own mind still making their transition into adulthood, I suspect. Bell frequently visited the church, on Sundays to participate in Mass, of course, but more often to be tutored by the priests. In addition, he also attended a private school run by an eminent marquis. Though it was not a school where students had desks and sat in rows, they studied at the marquis's estate. Secondary and higher education was not the same as it is today. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Not really. We didn't. Schools wasn't really a thing in the same way back then. And Mel was considering university. The priest wanted to recruit him to the church, but Mel was having difficulty deciding what he should do. That he has such a choice is envious, is it not? Good afternoon. I'm here to pick up my order. Is it ready?
Aye, ready and waiting, yo, Master Rhodes.
Mel Rhodes, I guess is his last name. Well, his full name anyway, rather. Don't call me young master, please.
Beg your pardon.
Guys, okay. I don't know. Is this like Scottish or Irish or something? I don't know. I can never read when it's like that, you know. Kindly seem to get ahead out of the packs. I can't do an accent. I can't do any accent, to be honest.
Your order's right here, sir.
Bell had stopped at a jewelry store in the center of town on his way back from the church. The building was both a workshop and a storefront, and the nobles of the area were deeply fond of the master's wares. He was so skilled even the royal family had commissioned work from him. As a matter of fact, the wooden sign out front was engraved a replica of a piece of his jewelry said to be on display in the palace. An artistry flourished in this golden age, and the number of shops selling luxurious items such as jewelry rose in kind. However, the clientele of these shops comprised a very narrow range of people. May I have a look?
Of course, of course.
What place is this based on? I'm not sure, actually. I assume maybe Europe? Like somewhere in Europe? I'm not entirely sure. But it has like this, you know, gothic kind of feeling to it. Like there's like a mansion, you know, there's like a maid. This guy is kind of like related to aristocracy, I guess. How do you say it? Aristocracy? I can't, you know, the monarchy, and everything. And that's a very like Western concept. But that's usually a thing in Europe, you know. So I assume somewhere in Europe. I don't know. Good, it came out just as I hoped. You know, like princes and knights and everything. I guess. Well, other places also had monarchs, I guess, or at least different versions of monarchs. But you know, I mean, judging from his style as well, his fashion. You know, I imagine is like someplace in Europe as well.
Can't afford to disappoint a loyal customer like yourself.
I can't. I don't know. Irish, Scottish, or some kind of accent. I don't know, I assume Scottish because of the Kane, you know, Kane or something. I don't know how you say it. Kane? Get that. An admirable work ethic. I'm sure she'll love it.
Such a kind lad, young master. My boy back home could do well to learn a thing or two from ya. Every man ought to show a woman some cordiality. Cordiality? You know, I can't even say it in an accent. I can't even say it normally. Cordiality. Coming home to a cold fireplace is a sad thing indeed.
Again, please don't call me young master.
My apologies.
I'll take this and be on my way then.
Good day. If you find yourself in need of anything else, just let me know. I can make any jewelry you ask for. Come to me, your sweetheart's day be sure as made. I guarantee the two of you will all have sorts of fun when you give it to her.
And I'm just turning into a pirate.
When you give it to her. I guarantee the two of you will have all sorts of fun when you give it to her.
Okay. Also, that's an innuendo, I think. Anyway. Please, I don't have a sweetheart.
Well, that's a surprise. I'm sure many girls are vying for your hand too, young, Mr. Rhodes. A fine family, good looks, charming, and your future's all but...
I'll be on my way then. I'm in a bit of a hurry.
Good day, come back again anytime.
Goodness. Maybe I'll say I want to study abroad or something. Patient as my father may be, that would certainly anger him. I can hear it now. You're wasting your God-given talents, boy! My boy. I could renounce my name and rank, go somewhere far away. That sounds like the kind of plan Nelly would come up with. My pirate accent is amazing. You know, I don't know what I think a pirate accent. I think that's Like, it's weird because it's an accent that doesn't really have a country related to it. I think it's like its origins from somewhere. I don't really remember where it was, but like for some reason it got associated with pirates. You know, at least stereotypical pirates anyway. I don't know. Did pirates actually speak the pirate accent in real life? I actually have no idea. I always just assumed because that's how they sound like in cartoons. As he drew closer to the mansion, the rich fragrance of roses grew more prominent. Over time, this distinctive scent had led visitors to refer to the house as Rose Manor. It was also probably a play on the flaxen hair family's last name, Rhodes, which you heard the owner of the jewelry store say just moments ago. Rhodes. That's a place, right? I just keep thinking, Rhodes Island? Well, Rhodes Island is from Arknights, I think, or something. Anyway, the mansion looked quite different than it does now, no? No thickets of ivy covering the walls, and no rotten broken doors to be found. I wonder what the Rhodes family would think if they saw the house in its present, tragic condition. The sight of their abundantly blooming roses, a veritable symbol of prosperity, long since withered and turned to soil. My apologies, I got a little sentimental there. Let us forget for a moment about our own time. Interesting. So like, okay, so again, so we're having these weird flashbacks to these characters, but then in the actual meta narrative, I guess I don't know what you call it. I don't know if it's like a meta narrative necessarily, but you know, there's like a story of like the maid retelling this to us while we're in the actual garden, and the garden itself, I guess, doesn't look as good. You know, apparently, it's quite unkept. I suppose I stayed out a little too long. Oh well, the sun still shines high in the sky. I'm sure it's... Dearest Mel, what took you so long? Wherever have you been? Okay. I've been waiting forever! Nelly? You're not in the house. Nope, you were taking so long I decided to wait by the gate. But you didn't even notice me at all. Is that any way to treat a lady? All that studying's got your head stuck up in the clouds. No, it hasn't, really. Also, you're heavy. Could you please get off my back? Heavy? I've been gradually reducing the amount of sweets I eat, and I love sweets to maintain my figure for a new dress, and you call me heavy? I didn't catch that. Were you saying a tongue twister? You're such a dimwit, Mel. Jerk, blockhead, weakling, okay, so baka. And obnoxious to boot. Whatever happened to the delightful little girl who was once my sister? She'd probably throw a fit if I said that out loud. Should you really be outside, Nelly? You are the star of today's event. It's fine. They can call it a birthday party, but I know it's just about fraternizing. It's obvious what father's true motives are. They'll be gathering a bunch of boys from good families to look for someone to marry me off to. I have no interest in that at all. Don't be like that, Millie. They're all here for you. At least enjoy what you can of the party. Nyeh. I guess, and besides, it's not completely terrible. Look at this, dearest Mel. What do you think? What do I think? About what? About what? I mean her dress, I guess? Her old attire, maybe? Mel! My new dress had arrived, I'm wearing it. How could you not notice? I did notice it was something I hadn't seen before, but you have so many dresses, Nelly, so... But this is the dress I made just for today. Look at the colors, they're so pretty. It's the work of a renowned dyer. And this belt is just lovely. And you see how it comes together to form a butterfly? You know, is she wearing like a... what do you call it? A harness? I think she's wearing, yeah, this thing, by the way. I forget what you call it? A corset, yeah, a corset. And everything. Those are, I don't know, I think I mentioned before, you know, in another stream, but these are horrible. You know, I remember looking up images of people wearing this. You know, you see those skeletons after they die, and it's kind of like completely deformed, and their organs get squished. It's horrible. But, you know, I guess it was a type of fashion that, you know, a lot of women wear during this era. Oh well. Let's see. See how it goes to form a butterfly? Yeah, I see the butterfly. Oh. I'm just absolutely in love with it. I think I'll be wearing this dress for a while to come. So tell me, what do you think? Does it look good on me? Yeah, it does. It's pretty. In some ways, I guess she is still a delightful little girl. Oh dear Smell, I love you. Another hug. Well, don't jump on me like that. You gotta recycle the CG. Ah! Oh my, you dropped something. And what have we here? Oh wait, hold on. No, you can't have that yet. Is it a present? Give it back. I was gonna give you that later. I knew it's for me. And just what could it be? Hey, don't open it. What's the big deal? It's gonna be mine soon anyway, isn't it? It's probably the present he got from the jewelry store. Ooh, I love it. A rose necklace. And this design is from the jeweler the royal family uses. Oh, my dearest Mel. You have this made just for me. Ah, jeez. It defeats the purpose if you open it before the party. Happiness is always better sooner rather than later, Mel. I think I'll put it on right away. And there you go. It appears on her neck, like magic. There, how does it look? It looks lovely. My prince is still the sweetest in all the land. Don't make such weird noises. don't make weird noises. But why not? A prince always knows exactly what his princess wants. And this princess wanted some rose jewelry to go with her new dress. Understand? Ah, jeez, I sure don't have it easy playing your prince, Nelly. It might be about time you found a new one. A prince is a prince because you can't just find one standing on the street corner. If you want to retire, dearest Mel, you're gonna have to wait another 10 years. That's a long time. Or if you find yourself a new princess. I'm not so... You're about as romantic as a rock, dearest Mel. But worry not, your adorable sister will always be your princess. What more could you want? Are you really allowed to be the judge of that? I mean more to you than any other girl in the world, do I not? Then that makes me your perfect princess. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Hey, what's with that laughing to be all over soon laugh? You're always telling me I mean more than anyone to you. Yes, you do. More than anyone in the world, my beloved baby sister. I'll take good care of the necklace. Thank you, my dearest Mel. Well, if you're happy with it, then so I am. Or so am I. You're very welcome. Now, back into the house with you. Can't have a party without the guests of honor. Do you know if anyone is here yet? Nope. I imagine they'll be here soon, though. Were you down at the church again today, Mel? Yeah, there was something I didn't know how to translate, so I went to look it up. Wow, so diligent. Can't say I really like the priest there, personally. Actually, I kind of feel the same way. You know, he just goes around saying, "Yorokame shonin, kimi no nagai wa yoyaku kana." Anyway. What, really? Why? Well, you know. He likes, like, mapo tofu and... Anyway, I have my reasons. So even you don't like the priest, huh? Let's skip mass on Sunday, then. We can go play. No skipping church. As grew the brother, so too did the sister. That day, Nelly would be turning 14, and Mel, 3 years her senior, was 17. Okay? You saw it with your own eyes, so you know just how much she has changed. She was always a cute little girl, and she grew into an even more beautiful young woman. Though she was only 14, she was well on her way to becoming a fine lady. A weird thing to say, you know, 14-year-old. But I guess, you know, it's, you know, in the context of the setting, technically, marriages and that sort of thing happened when girls were younger in the first place, so... I don't know. As for her character, well, little girl like that has her own charms, would you not say? Drifting down the river of time, the two siblings matured into healthy young adults, but the core of their relationship did not change in the slightest. Nelly was very much attached to her brother. As much as Mel complained, he still cared deeply for his sister. Around the time the sun had begun to set, carriages started lining up outside as well-dressed aristocrats made their way into the house. Aristocracy. I was gonna say, I was trying to say that word before. Aristocracy? Is that the right word? Aristocracy? Aristocracy? Aristocracy. Anyway. As Nelly has suspected, the majority of them were boys. Ew, boys. Disgusting. They have cooties. Yes, I understand. You don't need to say anything more. Rose Manor, right? Okay, we'll go together. We're still holding hands with the maid, by the way. Me alone? No, don't make me. The inhabitants of Rose Manor are surely living quite contented lives, and I'm sure they don't remember a thing. Weird. I don't know what that was about, to be honest. That was just cryptic.